What is shaking, everybody? Welcome to another Brand Doctor live stream, the first one of 2022. And man, is it a good one, because my goal for everybody this year is to start kicking ass as soon as possible when it comes to generating more sales and attracting higher quality clients in 2022 than in past years. And so we're going to be talking about, as we continue this series of what would you do if you're sitting down with a prospect and they are getting into that nickel and dime mode, and they're going to start the whole process of haggling your price down to nothing, pretty much, essentially, right? So here's a funny story. Oase and I, as we are communicating behind the scenes during our break, Oase says to me, I'm at this coffee shop right now, and I can't help but to hear this crew sitting next to me. It looked like it was a freelance designer and a couple of prospects, if you will, right? And he says, I'm listening to the conversation because I'm hearing these keywords, and this poor woman is getting nickel and dimed to zero, and she's not doing anything about it. she's taking a beating. And he's like, and this is all via text message. And I said, oh, wait, this is going to be our first live stream topic.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And he goes, what did you say to me? You said, I'm holding back of just getting into this conversation myself. Like, I'm ready to take control of this situation. And I said, well, go make the story so we could talk about it on Monday. Yeah. So I want to pass the mic to you. I want you to kind of give us the details of what was going on. And you never told me the end result. So I don't know if you spoke with this woman or
I did.
Oh, you did. All right. So
yeah.
So yeah, I want to hear how this whole thing went down, because there's going to be a lot of learning lessons here.
Oh man. And like I said, man, I was so compelled to just get up and say, I'm sorry, you can't take advantage of this. Because, of course, like, I've gone through that myself in my earlier years. And then, over time, I was like, look, I would just be a bit more, I would be a bit more confrontational about it, so to speak, a bit more stern, to be like, hey, look, either take it or leave it, rather than trying to understand the other person's motivation and lead them down the path of either determining whether we're going to be a good fit or not.
Yeah.
Right. So, there's soft skills that needed to be developed over the course of the last couple of years. And so once I got into the habit of that, and became psychologically aware of what I needed to do in those situations, I was able to control those situations much better. And obviously, we don't want to dive into the solutions yet, because we don't want to set the stage of what was happening on Friday. But it required a lot of mindset, and it required a reframing of the situation. So as I'm overhearing this conversation, I walk in and I sit down adjacent to this meeting. Didn't know, it could have been a real estate person or whatever. I didn't know what was happening, but I was there to meet with my own real estate person. So as soon as we wrap up, I'm still sitting there, and I overhear the website, I overhear social media, and I'm like, okay, well, Spidey sense tingling right now. What's happening? So I Like, okay, well, this sounds a little interesting. It sounds like a little freelancer. She seems to be doing well. Uh, and then I, I see the couple that is like, I guess they're considering to hire her.
Okay.
They stand up and they say, "Hey, we're gonna go outside and chat for a minute and come back." I'm like, okay, interesting. So they go outside, come back, and this is really when the show started for me because they come back and they say, okay, well, look, based off of what you've given to us, what we think is fair in terms of what we should pay is this amount, not the amount that you talked about. And this
And
is
how
what
far
we
off was that amount?
I honestly didn't hear the first amount. They just
Okay.
said, yeah, they were just like, look, this is what we want to pay.
Okay.
And this, and okay, so I'll go back to the initial amount that she was requesting because, we had a conversation afterwards.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So,
So
just
then I'll
for
explain
time's sake.
exactly. So it was about a good 25 to 30% off,
Okay.
so this is a significant amount.
Sure.
But still, I mean, that 25 to 30%, depending on what the overhead might be, may be all that she can walk away with.
That
I
might be the
don't know.
margin right there.
Yeah, exactly. So regardless of that, it's just, again, they come back in, they make a counter offer, and she immediately says yes without asking what their metrics is around that. And then again, like I said, the show starts because now they're saying, we want it like this, we want it like that. Just start running the project for her.
Yeah.
And it's one thing to ask it's one thing to ask the client what their preferences are around a specific project, but if you're an expert, you should be the one leading the way and making recommendations. Only after you've accepted some sort of retainer. I didn't hear any of that. I didn't hear any of that. So, there's just a lot of discrepancies that I was hearing from that conversation where I was like, look, you're being taken advantage of. And that's when I said, that's when I was texting you, Henry. I was like, man, I got to intercept. I was like, I'm so tempted to just intercept this conversation at one point.
So she agreed to the terms that they laid out.
Correct.
They leave. They got up. They shook hands. They leave. Now you speak to this person afterwards. You slid in and said, I couldn't help to overhear this whole thing go down.
Yeah.
Talk to us about.
I didn't even say it like that, because I didn't want her to feel like I was trying to coach her, or I was trying to, I was trying to pick apart at her sales strategy if she had one. But
how did you come in?
I came in. I was like, hey, I couldn't help but over here. You do social media. I just said it like that. I didn't say website or anything like that. It's like, yeah, I'm always looking to team up with other vendors that are doing social media or any digital marketing. Sometimes, we're not necessarily competing in that same space. So I said it like that, right?
What a smooth cat. What a suave dude right there.
Well, I mean, the conversation started. I was like, I just asked her what she does. I was like, oh yeah, so and as we got further into the conversation, about 10 minutes in, and I asked her, I was like, oh yeah, so what was the scope of the project that you were discussing here? And then I asked, did you get what you were requesting in terms of, I was like, yeah, so did what you bid for the project and what you were expecting, did they pay you that much, or did they accept that? Right. And even then I was like, what did you?
So Michelle Hollis is saying, way to be conscious and truly helpful. Yeah,
absolutely. Because, we don't want people to feel overly, especially in a setting like that, right? That we don't want them to feel like they're being demeaned in any way, because it can, again, it just really depends on how you approach it. So
yeah, you don't want to get them defensive. You don't want to get them pissed.
Exactly. Especially if now what she was expecting to get paid has been reduced and she doesn't know how to get around that.
Yeah.
I'm sure she gets that, right? Like I said, man, I mean, I've gone through this myself. So like, especially when you're first starting out, you go through that over and over again.
Yeah.
You either get many no's or you get a lot of, hey, we're only going to pay you 50% of this, or we're only going to pay you 35% of this, whatever it might be, right? This is all we have in our budget.
Yeah.
That's what I would hear that all the time. So once I asked about what she was going to get paid and did she get that, and how is she going to run this project moving forward, then we had a conversation. Then I asked, what else could you have asked to perhaps sway them in the direction of what you wanted, perhaps get them to even pay more. It's like, one of the things that really stood out to me was, I don't know if I can charge higher for this.
That's what she said to you.
I was like, because I asked her, I was like, look, what else can you be getting paid for this? For this type of an engagement? And her response to me was very telling, because she said, I don't know if I can get paid higher for this.
Oh, interesting. And real quick, what was the scope of work? Like, what was she doing? What was she going to do?
She was doing everything. She was going to do she was going to do everything from, and obviously it's all primarily creative work, but then of course there's going to flow into the digital marketing piece of it.
I see.
But it was going to go from the design work, visual identity, into website design, which it seemed like she was probably going to set it up on a WordPress theme or something like that. Okay. But still, even then, from for the price that she was stating, and then I asked her the time that it would take. Yeah. I don't know how you actually, now at least I'm thinking about it. I'm like, how would you be able to generate a profit off of that?
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah. So over the course of 2.5 months doing all this stuff, and I don't know if she would maybe tune into this at one point or not. I don't want to, drop in any specific figures, but it just didn't make sense to me.
Yeah.
So again, I gave her a little bit of guidance, and I told her, I was like, look, what you need to think about is asking better questions. How you can do this differently. And I said it like this: how you can do this differently and position yourself a little differently is by asking questions around what their metrics are to success, what they want their business performance to look like. Get them to start looking at their desired future state.
Yes.
Rather than having them focus so into the project that you're getting micromanaged the entire time.
Yes. Right.
Instead of being the expert leading the project, now you have become an employee.
Right. And man, can that role switch?
Yeah. It is so disastrous if you don't. Yeah. So all of it for me, I told her, I was like, look, tell me how you can do this differently. And this is how I know that you can do this differently. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it was just all around asking questions.
So you talk about questions, right? So let's kind of role play this a little bit, right? So we'll say something along the lines of, why don't you say to me, you could say to me, let's do this. It's a $10,000 project. It's a $15,000 project, but you only want to spend 10.
Okay.
Let's just use those numbers because they're really simple.
Sure.
So
okay. So look, I only want to spend $10,000.
Okay,
Henry.
So let me ask you this, Awais. What kind of revenue are you looking to bring in this year? As a result of this project. As a result of this project.
As a result of this project, I think this project is going to be part of many components that are going to work in harmony for me to get to the next million. So,
okay. So is $10,000 I'm just going to say it in layman's terms, a strong enough effort to get you to that $1 million mark? Because to me, it looks a little like disproportionate. Like $10,000 of $1 million, like 1%.
Compared to what?
Compared, what do you mean compared to what?
So compared to when you say disproportionate in terms of other vendors
the magnitude of the result. So the magnitude of the result. So here you're looking to gain $1 million from a $10,000 investment, right? That to me is like trying to get a mouse to pull a tractor trailer on its back. It's a major move with not much effort. So that's what I mean by like, that's how I would articulate a comparison. Like, no, nobody's in business to spend $1 million to make $1 million either. But do you think $10,000 is enough to get you to the $1 million mark? I'm just curious.
Well, that's a good question. But I mean, again, some of the other designers we've talked to, they're we're considering you, Henry, but I mean, some of the other ones that we've talked to, they're offering to do this exact same thing between $5,000 to $7,000. I'm willing to pay about $3,000 more to work with you.
Right, but I don't know what they're doing. I don't know how they do it, and I don't know what they're doing. So it's really hard for me to be looked at from a comparison, because how they do something could be completely different, which would render a way different price point. I know what we do. I know the results that we get. Okay. So I'll ask this question. Have you ever bought something based on value and not price? Yeah. Or do you always go for the lowest option, like lowest priced option? So if you got $5, $10, you always go with the $5.
That's a good question. Yeah. Look, based off of just my own experience and upbringing, or whatever you want to call it, and just culturally, I think I happen to be a bit more on the side where I'm just trying to save money. So I'll go with the lowest bottom dollar. But at the end of the day, if I see some value in it, but I got to see some value in it.
I see. So clearly
to consider.
All right. So now you don't see the value in what I do for that price point.
Well, what is the value?
It's in your eyes, my friend, not mine. Value is very subjective. I'll give you a quick example. I love cars. My wife will drive a Toyota Corolla because it has 4 wheels and it'll get her from point A to point B. So it's all on you. Its value is very different in the eyes of the beholder. So if you don't think this project is worth it, there's nothing I could do to make you look at that differently. My big question is it even worth doing? Is it that important to you to even do? Because maybe you can spend $10,000 or $15,000 somewhere else that's going to help you build the business the way you want to build it. Maybe this isn't the right project to invest in.
Yeah, I mean, we've been working with this exact same stuff up till now. I don't know. I mean, it looks like everything's been running just fine up till now. So, I mean, 10,000 is all I have to spend. By the way, these are the responses that I got.
No, that's good.
$10,000 is all I have to spend.
Yeah, and that's good. And listen, there's always going to be somebody cheaper to do this. Yeah. And maybe I'm just not in your ballpark right now. Maybe I'm not. Because I could tell you, to get to that $1 million mark, it's going to cost you a hell of a lot more than 10,000. And I know you need to budget for other things. It's not just the website. but you have to take an evaluation of what's going to give you the best bang for your buck to get you to where you want to be. So are we talking about just getting a website done here, or are we talking about getting the right website done here, built in a way that's going to attract a higher caliber client, a high quality client, position you properly in the marketplace, and is functional in a sense where you're not going to have to redo this puppy in 2 to 3 years because it's irrelevant anymore. So where do you want to put in the work? On the foundation or on the outside? What do you think is going to last longer?
Of course, on the foundation.
So that's where I come in, because I just don't want to paint a pretty house. I want to build a house that could withstand the seasons and really help you be happy inside of it. And that's what it comes down to. That's why anybody could build a pretty website. Not many can build a website that communicates properly and allows you to do the things that you want to do with it. That's far and few. And I've been doing this for 15 years. So I've seen a lot. So maybe you need some time to reconsider your priorities. Maybe this isn't a good space, a good place to put your money. So, all right. And scene, right? Now we could have went on for another half an hour and I probably would have got you to close the deal. But the point that we want you guys to get out of this video is we were challenging assumptions. We were asking questions. We weren't just taking what they were saying for face value. Okay. I'll give you a really quick story. This is literally super fresh. This happened over the break. I get a brand assessment come in. And for those folks that haven't booked that yet for the new year, I highly recommend you do this. I'm going to tell you why. So here's that link. You just go to uniquedesignz.net and then you click on the yellow button, book a brand assessment with Henry, and it'll get you right to where you need to be to book it. So I get this assessment coming in, and there's a questionnaire that you have to fill out. And right away, this person is attacking their own website. I'm not happy with its look. I'm not happy with the design. It needs an overhaul. I love my logo. I love my branding, but my website needs a complete overhaul. Okay. Right away, when somebody comes to me and they're attacking a specific brand asset, I say to myself, is that the real problem? So fast forward, we get on the assessment call today and we're talking, and they're selling a $2,000 product and they're getting people into their sales pipeline that need like a 10 payment plan to afford it. And he says to me on the call, I feel like we're the poor man's solution to, what did he say? The poor man's solution to building a health and wellness business, something along those lines. And I said, that's horrible. I said, because you're not. You've gotten tremendous testimony. Tremendous. They have 600 plus people in this program. So the program has been validated. Their testimony is insane. They've been compared to their competitors, and these clients that come through this program said, you guys are 10 times better than that program. Because I went through their program. It sucked. But they're not getting a fair shake. they're not getting the respect that they deserve because they have a fantastic program and they're selling it at a fraction of what the competitors are selling it for. What's going on? I said, it's your position. You're attracting these cheapskates. You're attracting the bottom of the barrel. Why? Because look at how you're showing up online. I said, your funnels look like funnels. Your website is very disjointed right now. And there's no real clear person that you're speaking to. Now, I went through their webinar and I did a tremendous amount of research because I had a week to really sift through their stuff. And I said, no wonder why you're attracting these get rich quick people. They even said it themselves. They said, when we get on the sales call, they say, oh, I worked for Herbalife for 3 years and it didn't work out, or right. Then there was another person that was trolling them online saying, this sounds like a get rich quick scheme, pyramid scheme. And
oh no.
And this person says to me, I don't know why people are thinking that. And I said, it's your positioning.
Yeah.
I said, I could come in here and redo your logo, redo your website and pretty up your funnels. But I don't think that's going to make a difference.
No. Okay, for the audience, clarify what your definition is around positioning.
It's how you show up online, one, and two, how you want to be perceived. I think it's more of the latter. Position is, how do you want to be perceived by your audience?
Okay. And what tools are used in being able to develop that perception?
Well, first and foremost, I think the best tool you can have is an outside perspective. And this is why I was explaining to this prospect, I'm using a real life example here. It's because they were inside of a bubble and they didn't have an outside perspective. And what I bring to the table is that, because I was in the internet marketing space for many years. I am now outside of it. I was outside of the internet marketing space before I got into it. So I see a different perspective. And when you get into that space, it's very easy to drink the Kool-Aid and start to become like everybody else in that space. You could almost foresee what's coming up next in their webinar presentation. Because they're all using the same goddamn template. Yeah. So I said to him, you might be perceived as just another get rich quick scheme. Right? And there's a lot of them in the fitness space, health and wellness space. Everybody's a life coach these days. Everybody's a fitness guru these days. Especially if you have a tuned up body, right? You may have the worst habits in the world, but you got a tuned up body so you could be a fitness influencer, right? Telling you. So what if you positioned yourself differently? What if you came out and said, this is who I work with. This is who I don't work with. This is my program. This is how it's laid out. This is why it makes sense. This is why it's the best option for you. Now you have to be sincere with that. If it's not the best option for them and you say that, you're screwing yourself and you're screwing them. Don't do that to your brand. Don't do that to yourself, and don't do it to them. They don't deserve it, and neither do you. That's very important, my friends. So positioning is everything when it comes to nickel and diming. One of my goals for 2022 is to be very conscious of who I surround myself with and who I associate with. Another goal of mine is to not tolerate an ounce of bullshit in my life. An ounce. And I don't care where it comes from, including my own family members. I will not tolerate it. I will just excuse myself from it. That's going to really set a tone and send out a vibration. And you'll see who picks up on that signal. It's not going to be the nickel and dimers. I could promise you that. That's all I got for you, my friends. Always. Appreciate the story today, my man.
Absolutely, man.
Dude, I'm curious to see where this relationship goes, one. Two.
Oh, yeah. So we didn't tell the audience. So that, yeah, we exchanged numbers, and I was actually telling Henry, I was like, she looks pretty. She's a good looking girl. I don't know. Let's see what happens. And so we did exchange phone numbers, and we're looking to meet up this weekend.
There you go. There you go. That's awesome. So there is, there you have it, guys. I'm going to squeeze this one question in, or I don't even know if it's a question or a comment, but let me squeeze this one in before we go. Can it be said that if you look like a low-end service provider, you will get clients who will nickel and dime you? Making the switch is the easy part. Getting the higher paying client might be work. It's been a work in progress for us, but this year is our year. Yes, I'm going to agree with that first part of the statement. I think when you raise up, you're going to raise up the people that are attracted to you. And that's going to make all the difference.
You got to level up all around, though. Look, you can't just level up. You can't expect to level up your identity and not be able to have that carry over into your conversations. Because at the end of the day, it's not an automated process that's going to help you close that high ticket client. It's going to be your messaging. It's going to be, especially if you have a sales staff, a business development staff that's also out there trying to acquire some additional clients. The best way that's going to happen is if all your messaging is aligned.
Yeah,
everyone has that exact same framework.
They make a good point. Making the switch is easy, but attracting that higher paying client is a whole different story. Yeah. It's just like the beautiful girl or the handsome guy with no personality. It's the same thing. It's the same concept, right? When you find substance in that person and they're also attractive, that's when you win. That's when you found somebody that may have a shot with you, right?
That's an ideal package, right?
It's an ideal package. So to your point, Awais, yes, you got to look the part if you want to charge the part, but you got to deliver the part too.
Absolutely.
And that's where the substance comes in.
Yeah. That's where you position yourself as an expert.
Bingo. And that's where you're not going to have to deal with these nickel and dimers. You can, and we did some role playing before, but like I wasn't going to take the job no lower than 15 grand. Right? That's why I kept kicking back to him. Maybe this isn't the right thing for you, because I don't want you to spend your last 15 grand either. That ain't going to help you. It ain't going to serve you. It's going to serve me. That's a win-lose. We need it to be a win-win in order for everybody to be happy.
Exactly.
Okay.
This just came to mind, and we'll see if this might also be a good topic for us to speak on, is how to effectively run a meeting, especially that initial meeting. Setting the tone for how a meeting should start, and say, okay, look, we came here to discuss this, and this. By the way, part of my policy is part of my process is to determine alignment and see if we're going to be a good fit to work with one another. And if it doesn't, if we determine by the end of this meeting that it's not going to be a good fit, I'm more than happy to refer you to someone. Sounds fair?
Done.
And so there you go.
The way you delivered that and the way that came across was you have my best interest in mind, and I'm following your lead. So
I'm not coming in with commission breath.
Commission breath. I love that. That's the first time I ever heard that. All right. So guys, real quick, some housekeeping stuff. If you have topics of discussion that you want Oasis and I to tackle in future live streams, every Monday we do a series called What Would You Do If? And Wednesdays are typically more open to tactical or what else can we say? Mindset sort of things to help
more
you.
Business related, yeah. I mean, they're both business related, but yeah, they're a bit more business process oriented or business positioning oriented.
Yeah, so drop it in the comments. No matter where you're watching this or listening in, let us know if there's a specific thing you want us to address. We'll put it on our little doc here that we have with potential concepts and topics that we could talk about in the future. We want to get you guys involved as much as possible. That's why we showcased the comments and things like that, and we get you involved. The other thing is, again, it's 2 p.m. Eastern, Mondays, Wednesdays. Share this. I see Michelle Hollis over here. She's going to share the next one. That's awesome. We appreciate you so much. Like this community that is being formed over the course of the past year, doing these so consistently is paying off, but it took almost 9 months. So keep that in mind. Rome wasn't built in a day. So guys, have an amazing rest of the week. We will see you Wednesday, 2 p.m. Eastern. Have an amazing day, guys. We'll catch you on the next one real soon. Take care.